Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So, beta, in this session, I will take all important questions of Unit 2 and the remaining important questions of Unit 1. Before I start, I just want to highlight it is my high intuition that only one question would be asked from Unit 2 of approximately 15 marks, right? So chances are that they will not give you a lot of questions from Unit 2 and they will give you only a limited aspect from Unit 2. Okay. So I'm just going to list out few of the major questions that can be asked from Unit 2. This is the first one. What led to financial crisis? How did banks play a role in it? तो ideally इसमें आपको पूरे ही chapter का summary लिखना है. You need to go ahead and you need to write the summary of the entire chapter only in this, right? The second question that can be asked is, what were the various fiscal stimulus program adopted in various countries in response to the financial crisis? So in this question, you need to go ahead and you need to talk about the different programs that were started in other different countries. इसके आने के chances थोड़ा कम हैं because our paper is more oriented towards what happened in India. But still, because the reading talks about these programs, so you should go ahead and just revise these programs also once. Okay, the third question. Why was the recovery process slow post-financial crisis? Which policies were used for the purpose of recovery? This is important question. तो पहले तो आप ये बताओगे कि why the recovery process was slow. Slow recovery process पे ना there is a pointer which is given in the summary of the chapter also. That is a good enough pointer. आप उसको भी revise कर सकते हो. And at the same time, it is asking which policies were used. ये भी आपके समरी ऑफ द चैप्टर में एक पॉइंटर दिया हुआ है कि हाउ फिस्कल एंड मॉनेटरी पॉलिसीज वर यूज्ड टुगेदर. You can read that pointer also, but this can come for more marks. It can come as a 15 marks question. तो आपको बुक के अंदर से भी you need to go ahead and write the answer. What are subprime mortgage? Why are they an important part of triggering the crisis? So this is important, beta. A lot of times ना they will go ahead and they will ask you to write short notes. तो अगर यहाँ पे they can ask you to write a short note, तो short note में they can go ahead and give you to write a short note on subprime or subprime mortgage. And they can ask you to write a short note on, say, leverage ratio and other terms. So, जो भी important terms हैं, if you go towards the last of the chapter, end में they would have mentioned what are the terms used within the chapters. तो उन terms को एक बार just read those terms. उन्होंने page number भी दिया हुआ है that on which page number which term is there. Just read that term also because it can be asked as a short note, right? So the question, it can be asked as a 15 marks question, 7.5, 7.5 each, where they can go ahead and ask you to write a short note on these terms. At last, there is a slight chance that a numerical can be asked from this reading. So you just have to go ahead and do one numerical, which is going to be the back question number 4. इसको एक बारी पढ़ लेना. You should know how to go ahead and draw the balance sheet of the bank. Right? And you should be well aware about how to make changes in this balance sheet. So just go ahead and read this question. Okay. Now let me just go ahead and highlight to you what all you need to go ahead and what all you need to do from Unit 1, Chapter 3. Now, if you go to your syllabus, it says that you don't have to focus a lot on Part 1. Because Part 1 of this chapter actually talks about Phillips curve. It talks about rational expectations, etc. And you have already done that as part of your last semester. So it is actually from chapter का जो part 2 है, chapter 3 का part 2 onwards, that is what you have to go ahead and focus more on. But you will be able to understand this part 2 अगर part 1 आपने किया होगा, right? So ultimately you will have to do a lot of part 1 also to understand part 2. But if you go to the syllabus, it will say with focus, less focus on part 1. Okay. Okay. So these are the questions which are important from this chapter. It says derive ISPC-MR model. How does inflation shock, how is an inflation shock acting in the short run and long run? The second question of, yes, the recording of this will be available beta. all recordings are available. You just have to go on the YouTube and click on the live section. So under the live section, you will be able to see the recording. Okay, second question. How does a temporary demand shock differ from permanent demand shock in the analysis of ISPCMR model? A very important question, high chances that it can be asked. You should know how to differ between temporary and permanent demand shock model. ये आपको अच्छे से आना चाहिए. Okay, part number 3 beta. Evaluate the pros and cons of interest-based rule against monetary-based rule of maintaining constant monetary nominal interest rate and constant growth of money supply. So basically, in the book, you are given 3 rules. Para rule is the interest-based rule. The second rule that you are given is constant nominal interest rate rule. And the third rule that you are given is constant growth rate of money supply. You have to make sure that you know all these 3 rules well. They can ask you why this rule, interest-based rule, is preferred over these 2 rules. Right? So ye achhe se you need to go ahead and do. This is a full-fledged question that can be asked in exam. Okay, next question. How does inertia augmented Phillips curve differ from Lucas supply curve equation? So in this, actually, you need to go ahead and define both of them. You need to tell the role of rational expectations in this. You need to tell what is inertia augmented Phillips curve. So ye wala pura ka pura answer you need to frame. Last part, beta. Why is disinflation costly? Again, I think that there is a very high chance that this can be asked in exam. Why is disinflation costly? What assumptions do we need to make in order to eliminate the cost of disinflation? Again, this is given to you in the book. पहले आपको book बताता है कि what assumptions it has made to tell that disinflation is costly. तो पहले आपको वो assumptions पढ़ने हैं. And then the book says that what additional assumptions it is making to eliminate disinflation. तो आपको फिर उसके बाद ये वाला बात पढ़ना है. So this entire thing can be asked as one full-fledged question in exam. So I am expecting that this is it that would be asked. Most of the focus of exam should be on ISPC MR model. Since you are studying this for the first time, तो इसी से related they will ask something in exam, temporary demand shock, permanent demand shock, inflation shock. This has a very, very high chance of coming. तो उन diagrams को you just revise them very, very well. अगर वो नहीं आता है, then the exam will ask about these 3 kind of rules. And at last, the exam will ask about disinflation. More or less, these are the important questions from your Unit 1, chapter number 3. With this, I end all the units. I have told you the important questions for Unit 1, Unit 2, and Unit 3. I wish you all the very best for your exam ahead, beta. And I hope that tomorrow when you come back, जैसे आपने माइक्रो में बोला था that everything was from what I had already given you. I hope you come up and tell me that everything was from these questions. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.